Hello, good evening, everyone. Just a minute. Good evening, everyone. Uh, hope I am audible. Uh, yeah. Let's now start the session. Uh, like, uh, I don't know, we have like such a low number of participants today. If any of your friends haven't joined yet, please ask them to join the session. And today we will be having a session on organizational psychology taken by Miss Nisha. She is an HR and she has done education in Mangalam University. So actually, I'm panicking a lot because even in the last session, I saw like around 60 participants. Now we are just having like 35 participants, so don't mind that. We have Miss Nisha. I will actually she was very helpful. Actually, she was I approached her last week, I guess, and she was ready to do it last week itself, but because of some issues we can't do that. Now we are having a session on organizational psychology. Please all of you please be interactive, and shall we start, ma'am?
Yeah, sure, sure. I'm all set.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so can I take over the session now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. I think since he was a little panicky, I'll give a little bit of intro about me. So I am Nisha, and I completed my post graduation in psychology, then an MPhil in industrial psychology as well. And that is how I got acquainted to the concept of industrial and organizational psychology. And I have 11 years of experience being a part of employee counseling, employee welfare, setting up, the HR units for startups, and also training students like all of you all on various domains related to HR and psychology in itself. Okay, so that's a teeny bit about me. So I hope you guys are ready for the session. And this is not going to be a normal Gyan kind of a session. I just wanted to be a little more interactive. I'm fine, Deepak. You do not have to be panicky anymore. Like, it doesn't matter to me how many of them are there. It's fine. If they are interested, I'm more than happy to talk to them. Okay. So let's talk about organizational psychology or industrial and organizational psychology. Generally, in colloquial terms, we call them as IO psychologist or IO psychology, which is again industrial and organizational psychology. Okay, so the whole mother concept of psychology, one portion of it or a division of it is organizational psychology. So what we do is when we study about organizational psychology, we apply the theories and policies, what we have learned in psychology, into a work atmosphere or into an organizational setup. So our key areas would be to see the behavior of the employees, how they make use of the workspace, how motivated they are, how is their mental and the overall well-being, and the policy making, how we make employee friendly and organizational friendly policies. So these are the teeny things which is primarily in the Indian market taken over by the HRs who have done their probably a master's in social work or master's in a business administration. So considering our country or in Asia on its whole, maybe we do not have a designation as an organizational psychologist, very few. We are shadowed or we are under the umbrella of the HR unit or the HR domain or the HR team, however you want to call it. So, I hope you all know when did psychology emerge, which year and when did it emerge? Do you all know when did it emerge? Okay. Anyone who would like to answer this?
After the Second World War?
Okay. Do you remember the year, like which century or like when was it?
Not really.
Okay, so it was by the
1879.
1879 is when,
It
yeah,
was
sorry.
1879.
Yes, yes, you're right, you're right. It is in 1879. So somewhere close to that itself in the 1900s is when organizational psychology came into its existence. That is because, they were applying psychology into all the aspects, like be about education in schools and family, relationship, and behavior, and everywhere psychology was being applied. But then nobody was really bothered about applying it into the industrial or into the organizational setup. So that is when, in the 1900s, one of the psychologists and the psychophysicist, in fact, there are two of them. One is Walter Scott and another is Hugo Munsterberg. They were doing studies related to how they can apply psychology into an organizational or a work setup. And in the 1960s is when they started functioning. Actually, it was put into practice. And one of the books that was published during that time, which is still used by all of us, would be the book that is published by Munsterberg himself. So it is about psychology and industrial efficiency. So most of us who are specializing on this would get acquainted to this book, and there are a lot of things that he has studied about how we can, improve the performance, how we can do better recruitment, how we can select the right kind of people. So, like in the poster itself, if you have seen about me, you would have seen that I have done a little bit about the psychometric assessment as well. So way back in 1960s, there were thoughts about including psychological assessments as a part of recruitment process and getting the right kind of person get the right kind of job. So that's how it started. It was in the beginning of 1900s and 1960s that it was really, really good and it was being put into practice. But somewhere down the lane, like it just dipped a little bit. And I think only in the past 10 years is when, we started considering it seriously and the boom happened again when we started to find the concept of work stress and attrition and performance issues. That's when people started wondering why not bring in more of organizational psychologists. They do not use that name, but then someone who is efficient enough to do the counseling with or to support them or to even set the entire ambience, the work ambience right for people to give their best. So if you just ask me, what is that an organizational psychologist or a person who is in charge of organizational psychology does, is we start right from the recruitment itself, like I just told you, about the tests. We conduct a lot of tests. Maybe it is personality test or it can be adjustment test. See, I can just quote you an example. I work as a consultant with multiple organizations. So what they do, why do they take me as a consultant is because they want me to develop probably a psychometric assessment to hire the right person. So when I ask them what is the target, who is your target? Do you want like freshers or experienced? So if they say it's freshers, definitely I would like to bring in an adjustment scale to understand like how well they would adjust to a new environment. Because what we hear now is a lot of them are not very happy about moving off from their places because of this pandemic and all these issues. So we are looking at people who would adjust in a new environment. So when it comes to recruitment, yes, we have a scope of developing psychometric assessments as the first or the initial phase. Okay, let me just go even beyond that. Okay, like if we are going to, it's a startup organization. What are the things, or what is your scope there? If you are going to specialize in organizational psychology, it would be like, what would be the best environment? You can even term it as ergonomics or like what kind of a sitting arrangement, what kind of systems you would provide, whether you would have how many number of restrooms you want, do you want a sick room to be provided? So all these things has to be done and planned sitting with an organizational psychologist. Yeah, this is coming into practice now, maybe probably like I said in 10 years or 5 years maybe. We are having discussions right from the start of time itself, as in what are the things that we can bring in, because end of the day a happy employee makes a very happy organization. They're very productive, they're able to reach the targets, the goals are same. So you really need someone who has specialized in this particular domain. So I was just talking about the scope in general, as in you might be wondering what is so different, or what is that one who has specialized in organizational psychology has to do. So we would be a part of recruitment. We would also be in manpower allocation, then the wellness of the employees. Now, I must tell you about this because now it is the pandemic, post-pandemic planning is happening. So what happens is that whenever we have discussions, the organization is ready to invest on the mental health of the employees. So they want probably just a number to be flashed on the websites where they can talk. Mainly because when you are within the four walls and you have very little interaction with the team, and there is nothing at all. You're sitting. Some of them are in the hostels or in their rooms, sitting in the four walls, probably cooking for themselves, eating, and again back on the system. There is no tea break. There is any sort of interaction is not there. So that is affecting them a lot. The targets, they seem to be working for 13 or 14 hours. There is no proper time management happening. A lot of issues are there, and performance on the whole has started reducing. Whereas the employees say that they're working for 12 or 13 hours, whereas they normally work only for 9 hours. Now, where is the problem? Is it the problem with the employee or the employer or the pandemic itself? So what the organizations are doing is they have started planning for the post-pandemic employee engagement and employee management, in fact. So primarily, they are looking at the mental health and the stress management aspect of the employees. So there is a lot of scope now, considering that such a thing has happened. Unfortunately or fortunately, people are looking into the psychological and the mental well-being of the employees. So we have a role to play with that. That is about the mental health, and then about the policies. So when you draft a policy, how employee and employer friendly and how well it bridges and what are the legalities involved. So if you get someone, if you have an advocate or a lawyer, he has the knowledge of what is required in a particular geography. But how, when you give it a humane approach and you want to not be very employer oriented, neither be very employee oriented. So you are going to be the bridge between the two, and you sit down right for the policy making in itself, where the employees are not burdened. At the same time, it shouldn't be taken very lightly that it falls as a pressure for the employers. And another thing would be about motivation when we come to the appraisal part of it. See, appraisal, and see, the reason why I'm not telling you all the other small little details is because all of us know that there is going to be appraisals, and there's going to be employee engagement. But specifically, what you have to do is what I want to touch upon. That is, if you decide to specialize, or if you plan to become an organizational psychologist, what is that you will be doing is acceptance of feedback. Now, there are two ways of looking at it. One is how should a leader put across the feedback, the managers? So that is where the mid-managerial or managerial training comes into place. So we have to develop a module saying the proper communication. So probably you can include modules, what you're studying now, probably you'll be having communication modules, a little bit of NLP if you are having exposure to that. So the right kind of communication is what is required. How do you put across a feedback in a right way that your team members take it positively and get motivated? So motivating not just the team members, but even the managers, as in how well they need to put a feedback forward and how it should have a positive impact on the team members is again your job. So you decide on the module on how do you train them, how to train the managers. So after that, again, once you have the appraisal system in place and you're not very happy with the feedback, even if the feedback is given in a positive sense, you find the employees to be a little probably sometimes lazy, or they do not have the mindset to accept feedback in a positive way. So again, you jump into that role as well, where you sit down and you talk to them and you help them chart your goals. Just help them. What is your immediate goal? What is that you want? So goal setting modules also you would be acquainted in when you're studying. So you help them set their goals. You make them realize as in what are their strengths. And sometimes what happens is that they are very bad with time management. So the targets are not met, or they're not able to prioritize on the task and finish it on time. So you teach them about the time management modules. These are all the things that I have studied in college, and I am getting an opportunity to apply it with the employees. So even though these are in the textbook, application of it has got its own fun and liveliness. You enjoy a lot. Maybe when you write the examination, you feel, oh, it's so boring. Who's going to do it? But when you apply it to the lot, it gives you immense happiness. You teach them about Stephen Covey. How do you make the Stephen Covey matrix? How do you identify what is really important? What has to be ignored? End of the day, when you sit with an employee and give that clarity to them, just your happiness, that in itself gives you so much of happiness. Like you feel, okay, I'm doing something. I did study so much and I'm making someone happy. So that is another role that you would be playing when you consider the appraisal system or the feedback. Okay. Now, if you consider business, area of business where your role would be important, would be into marketing, let it be about product designing, or even workplace setup designing. Like I told you earlier about the ergonomics. Even if it is a furniture to be made specifically for a particular employment type, where they have to stand for long or they have to sit for a long period of time. How do you design it? So that also requires the support of an organizational psychologist, understanding how they would be happy. You are observing them. What kind of posture would keep them happy? What are the roles involved? How many times they would have to get up and walk? All that is involved, right? So when it comes to the office furniture business, or when it comes to marketing, let it be a logo designing, the color. What do you call a color therapy? I think that is also included in your probably in any one of your modules. There's something called chromotherapy. So that is being applied into designing the logos and probably the paintings and what are the colors that you want to use. So you have a role to play there. There is a lot of scope where you can be present, but it's just that you have to find the right place and make an opportunity for yourself. Okay. So again, employee behavior. If you are working as a consultant, if there is problematic behavior from a extremely good employee who is doing really well and probably being one of the best employee for the year or for the month, and suddenly his performance has dipped. It can be either a behavioral issue that you're seeing all of a sudden, or maybe it is something about performance issues or a personal issue. There might be any of these things which is disturbing. So what happens now? You cannot just put them across to a team of HR and tell them, like, why don't you manage this? See, when you have an interaction with the team, generally who takes care of these kind of issues, what they say is employee counseling is just about listening, and we all can do it. Well, employee counseling is not just about listening. There is a clinical process in itself when you're dealing. So when you learn about counseling, what are the steps that you go through? The entirely, almost 90% of that has to be repeated when it is employee counseling. So someone who is not having the knowledge of the counseling technique will not be successfully manage and retain that particular employee. So here again, we jump into it, and that is why more and more, psychologists and people who have graduation or a postgraduate degree in psychology are being considered for the HR roles, because now employee counseling is something that has turned out to be almost mandatory. Once in 6 months or once in 3 months is what they consider, meeting a psychologist to be essential, or even a counselor, or any of the clinicians, or someone who has the knowledge of counseling to be present. So these are the areas where you can think about being a part. So I just want to know if you guys have any questions as of now, because I feel I'm the only one who's talking. So if you have anything to ask me, and if I know, I can answer. If not, I'll get back to you on that. Nothing?
You can unmute and ask, or you can use the text box also.
Um, Scope. Scope as in, I think it is Radhika. Radhika, you mean scope as in an employee, I mean employment perspective, or scope in general? How is the scope of organization psychology in India, or like what exactly is the question? If you could type that as well, it would be great. Organization psychology, and what is the process to pursue? Okay, it's a good question. Um, yes, the scope of industrial psychologist. See, what Radhika and Zehra wants to know is that how can we be organizational psychologists? I mean, what is the process to pursue it in India? See, to be an organizational psychologist now, currently, in the current market, there is nothing specific as such other than having a degree, at least a graduation in psychology is what they're looking for. But if you want to call yourself as an organizational psychology, you should have your obviously your bachelor's in psychology and a specialization in your master's in industrial and organizational psychology. That is what is required. Since we do not have too many courses like that across India, what is happening is that anyone with a bachelor's degree, at least in psychology, is being taken into this role now. So that in India, we do have colleges that provide what is that, industrial and organizational psychology. So if you take that up in your master's, yeah, that is really good. That would be the best option if you are looking at specifically organizational psychologist role. Next one is how can we start practicing it? You can be a, how can you start practicing it? Before that, I think there's one more which Radhika has asked. I'll come back to it. Now, Zehra wants to know how can we start practicing it? You can be a consultant, Zehra. You can give, probably the change management modules. You can start as a trainer in psychological well-being. You can also be a policy developer, like how you can be an independent person as an organizational psychologist, make yourself a page, have enough of talks, go to presentations, write about it, make your presence felt, and only then you will start getting opportunities. You can approach startup organization, give a good presentation on what are the things that you can do with the theories and policies that you have learned, how you can apply and how you can make a difference. Then you will get an opportunity. And that is how most of us have cracked. I'm talking about me, it was like 11, 12 years of experience now. So initially, I did get an opportunity after, because I was a trainer even before I got into my master's. I was a trainer right from the time I was 18. So I had already the target people right in front of me. So it was easy for me. But if you want, you will have to start making your presence on LinkedIn and other portals where you can present your ideas and what is that you know about it. What is your interest? Write about it. Write a blog. Do videos. You can start making your presence now itself, and then you can be an individual who is into organizational psychology or present yourself as a consultant. Uh, Radhika, I will have to do a research on Mumbai because I'm not from Mumbai. So I can definitely answer you on that. I don't know if Deepak will share the contact. If he's sharing, you can send these kind of questions to him. I can direct you on that. Um,
I will share the contact in the WhatsApp group and
okay.
at the end of the session, ma'am.
Okay. So he will be sharing the contact. So these kind of questions about college and guidance, you can ask me through that. Here I will talk about the topic that I have been talking today. I think that would be more relevant, right, Deepak? Okay, fine. So what is, wait, I'm really sorry, Radhika. I think she had asked some other question on top. Yeah, the scope. I think I have explained the scope. These are the areas like if you can be a part of a startup organization because you will get a lot of opportunities right from making the policies, the designing the workplace, then about setting the grievance cell. All these things you get an opportunity to set things in place. If you want to really get an exposure, you should join a startup organization to apply what you have learned. And then later on, with experience, you can either specialize on startup organizations or any other, probably a fintech or edtech or whatever you want. You can specialize in a particular area and then start pitching for yourself. About your Mumbai question, I will reply to your mail or message, whatever he shares. Um, Now, what is the difference between IO psychology and human resources? See, there is no much of a difference. Yes, there is a huge difference when it comes to work, in the sense the duties and responsibilities. While you take up the role, it is almost the same because you're going to be part of recruitment, you're going to be a part of grievance, you're going to be a part of policy making. All these things are the same thing what an HR does. That is why I said we fall under the umbrella of HR, but our duties or our responsibilities are quite in depth, in detail, not just the peripheral one. So now, if it's a human resource, if it's a normal HR with no psychology background, you cannot develop a psychometric assessment and bring in a process for recruitment, right? You will need an organizational psychologist or a psychologist for that matter. Let me just leave the organizational part, at least someone with the knowledge in psychology to develop the psychometric assessment. So when it comes to recruitment, this is the difference. After recruitment, what is the other duty the HR does? Let's go to grievance management. Again, when it comes to grievance management, there's going to be stress management, time management, all of this. And all these theories are what we study in psychology. We have been taking case studies related to psychology. And again, end of the day, everything boils down to mental health. You have to be stress-free. We need counseling. So these are the things that someone from a business administration background cannot do. It is equally good course, no doubt about it. But then they have established long back. So you know what happens is that we need to get into their umbrella and make space for us, and it will take some more time to evolve and come as a separate designation. I'm just waiting. Like we should have more of organizational psychologists sitting in the HR team, but it has its own process in India. If you're going abroad, it's wonderful. You will have a lot of opportunities with the same designation. Okay, will studying organizational psychology be helpful in having a career in HR, or should we pursue HR degrees? No, organizational psychology is enough. That is Shahryar Arif. Organizational psychology is enough in today's day and age. Organizational psychology is enough. Maybe you will have to do a certificate course in labor law because that is the only thing that is very different from MBA that we do not have. We do not study about labor law, right? I don't know whether it's included in your syllabus, but when I studied or all through years or whoever I have interacted with, the only thing that we psychology students miss out is on labor law. So if you do a small certificate course of 6 months, or I think it's 6 months or a year's course that you have in labor law, you're good to go. There is no need of having a separate HR degree as such. Okay, Amrita, if we have a master's in counseling, is it okay or again start with a master's in industrial psychology for 2 years? No, if you have a master's in counseling, you can think about doing, I don't think you need to do anything much other than taking up a PG diploma course in industrial and organization psychology. There are a lot of colleges that give a PG diploma in the industrial psychology. You do not have to waste 2 years. You can finish that in 1 year. So that was Amrita's question with regard to masters in counseling. Okay. Do we have more questions? Ma'am, what would be the difference if a businessman holds a psychological degree and if not? Wonderful question. When a businessman has a psychological background, you would learn the customer's behavior much faster than the rest. You would identify what are the likes and dislikes, and you can come up with the right product which is going to be sold. You can use a lot of other techniques like I told you about the colors being used, the shapes being used. Product design in itself is based on human psychology, isn't it? If you look at the bottles, the shape of the bottle or a cosmetic for a woman, everything is behind the likes of the opposite gender. If you actually see the shape of a bottle like thumbs up or something, clearly says that, it targets a certain population. What is that which is required? Like it targets teenagers or youngsters, or probably men, young men. So that is why it has that particular shape, is what the product designers say. So how you come up with the designs of each product? See, businessman having a psychology degree is wonderful. He will know his customers better. He will come up with a good design. He will be able to manage his staff really well. he would have more marketing strategies than the others, is my understanding. That was a question asked by Lakshani Priya. Yeah. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right. Um, okay. Okay. Good evening, Prashansha. Yeah, what is it? Out of the box question. Can we do MPhil and PhD together? MPhil and PhD together, I wouldn't suggest. As per my knowledge goes, there are few of them who are doing it together. Few colleges that is doing it together, but I would suggest you to do either you skip off that MPhil and go directly to your PhD, or you do your MPhil and take some break and get some work exposure, and then go for your PhD degree. Because PhD, it's about mastering the subject in depth, and I really feel you need to have some kind of an exposure in the work environment and then go for the PhD. This is my suggestion. Individuals can have their own priorities, but if you ask me, either you stick on to MPhil, take a good break, and then go for PhD, or otherwise you can skip the MPhil entirely and go into your PhD in itself. Can we name some countries where industrial psychologist has a Germany, Denmark. You will be a part of the ergonomics team. So even UK Organizational Psychologist Association is good. US, it started off in US. So first, the whole concept of organizational psychology was born in the US. So US, UK, Germany. My mind is always for Germany because they give a lot of importance to employee welfare, employee ergonomics, work environment, design. So yeah, after masters, can one work as an industrial psychologist? I didn't get your question, Radhika. Are you saying after masters, can work as industrial psychologist?
Yeah, I
Of
think
course, you
she
can
is
work. You
asking.
can work.
Yeah.
Depending on the job responsibilities, you'll have to check the job responsibilities. Definitely. Okay. Yeah, once depending on the job responsibilities, you can pick up the job. There are few organizations that give you the job descriptions in detail, highlighting on the factors which we know, like the tests and assessments, development of psychometric assessments, or probably coming up with the policies. All these things, when you read that, you will understand whether you fit in the role or no. After you finish your master's, yes, you can work as an industrial psychologist or an organization psychologist if you can. Uh, then share Arif, okay. Would that be in German than or English? You should definitely know German if you want to go to Germany. That's depending on the organization, but knowing German is the best thing to do. You are safe if you know German, if you want to go to Germany. Not a question, but you look similar to Saina Nehwal. Okay, I've heard that a lot. Thank you, Aisha. Okay, so is there any diploma courses available for organizational psychology which I can do with my? Uh, I will answer that question. You will have to write a mail or contact me. Deepak will share that information to you. When it comes to colleges and when it comes to these kind of references, I will have to do, give you the right information. I do not want to answer it right away like this, so that wouldn't help. Uh, Yeah, there are courses which you can do along with your post-graduation. The postgraduate diploma courses are something that you can do after your bachelor's. So you can do it with your master's as long as you are good with time management, because you'll have a lot of assessments and things to be done. So if you are assignment friendly, assessment friendly, then it's good. Yeah, I think, are we done with the questions?
Yeah, Lakshani Priya, she asked a question about traits of a industrial psychologist, ma'am.
Traits.
Yeah, what are the traits that a student of industrial psychology must have?
You do not have to have a specific trait as such, but you should be confident. You should be more of an open-minded. Same thing what you need for a psychologist in general psychologist, you need that, but you should be good at presenting your thoughts, presenting yourself, be vocal. If you are very silent and you are not okay in presenting your thoughts and giving clarity, it will not help. So you should be a good communicator. You should be confident. I think in any profession you need all of these. But if you are asking me specifically as an organizational psychologist, yes, because sometimes the management may not understand and they might ask us to tweak a bit. See, for example, if they are taking you as an employee counselor, one of the things that we always keep in mind is confidentiality. So when you are dealing with one of the employees, the management can come and poke in between and say, why don't you tell me what exactly is it? Oh, is he going through a breakup? What is it? They come and ask. And since they're sitting on a higher position, the C-suite people, we cannot be answering them, right? So if you are confident enough in putting across what you want to say, then you just say, this is what I followed. I do not share and I am not going to share. So you should be confident enough in saying what you want to say. Yeah, that's it. Are these the only
Excuse me,
questions?
ma'am.
Sorry?
Excuse me.
Yes, Sarah, tell me.
Are there any companies which are recruiting industrial psychologists in India?
Yes, Wipro recruits industrial psychologists. There is another company called, what was that? Mm, CTS is Cognizant Technologies has got a psychologist. Now, Zoho has hired recently a team of psychologists, organizational psychologists. And there was one more firm. I can give you the details, but right now it's just gone out of my head. Recently, one more company has hired a whole lot of, in fact, a team of 5 members. That this is post-pandemic. Okay, even Zoho had just one. They increased the number after the pandemic, and but from before it was Wipro, which always had an organizational psychologist. There are just a handful of them who give that designation, but they do prefer people with psychology background when they hire the HR members for the HR team. That is happening, but we have still not got the designation yet. It will take a long time, is what I feel. Just that 5 or 6 companies are giving that designation. Any other questions that you have? Okay. So I will just tell you about. In fact, Deepak had actually told me to tell how is a life of an organization psychologist. That is what he told me. But later on, it became more generic, and he just wanted me to talk on organization psychology. So let me just tell you what I have done in my career as an organization psychologist, so you will understand as in what would be your roles and responsibilities if at all you decide to be a part of it. Um, when it comes to policy, see, when I always made a point to get into startup organizations and give trainings to bigger organizations. So for managerial trainings and others, I used to pitch for bigger companies and I used to go for the trainings, especially for the feedback management, let it be the well-being, emotional and mental well-being sessions, mental health awareness. So that was for bigger organizations, but application of what I learned as a consultant happened in the startups alone. So if you just have a look at my profile, it is totally startups that I have dealt with. Because I was very particular that what I learned and what I have written has to be put into practice. I did not want to just start sitting and calling up candidates and hiring them. That was not what I wanted. I wanted to bring in the difference right from the beginning. So if I tell you, I started off in a medical college, which was again a startup. So I joined in as an intern where they had to design the organization and they were trying to get higher doctors. So where, how, when, so all that happened. So I got a very good exposure right from setting the beds of the medical college to getting the bus and how it should look, the logo, the design and everything. I was a part of it. That's where I realized the role is so huge, like what makes you feel pleasant, what makes others feel good, how people feel wanted, the care, the patient aftercare treatment. So I used to be a part of it also. It's not that, I'm not giving the entire credit as an organizational psychologist, but yeah, learning psychology in itself helped me a great deal when I took up that opportunity. So I started off with the policy meeting. I had an advocate who was guiding me because I was fresh out of college. I was just an intern. So when we started developing policies, I had someone to guide me, and we started developing policies. We put the policy implementation happen, how we make people, the employees not just remain an employee but be a brand. So how do you make them a brand? Like organization, like how you have this beauty pageants. Even organization has a personality on its own, like how you have Miss Beautiful Smile and Miss Beautiful Hair. In the same way, we can categorize this organization. So we look at creating a personality for the organization. So when we look at an organization, is it easily, can people communicate easily? How is the reception desk? Is it very welcoming? When a fresher or a new person enters, will they feel wanted? So from there onwards, we rate the organization and we try to bring in all the points, like right from the place, where should this organization be? What kind of colors needs to be used? How should the reception desk be? How welcoming it should be? So once a person is hired, um, how does the induction program go on? So these kind of things were taken care, and post which I started working in an ITES firm. So I have health sector, education sector. I have it in the ITES and the IT firm. So when I got into ITES and IT, that's where I realized that um, the stress factor, the amount of stress when it comes to your calls or, developing the deadlines, your presentations and the client requirements. That is where, I started this grievance cell, come up with a grievance cell. And then some of them do not have to V factor at all because it's a well paid job. So they think 9 to 5, I need to get certain amount of money. So when we look at it, I told you earlier, we are going to bridge between the employee and the employer. So what happens is that the employer will be having lots of goals and responsibilities and everything set on him. And he's like, okay, another 5 years, this is what I want to be. And he's going to tell that to you. And you have the employees who are cribbing and saying, no, I think in a year I'm going to leave this job. I'm getting better offers outside. So you are stuck in between. So you need to bring them together, isn't it? So what I used to do is that I made up a session where each employee, it used to be 300 to 500 employees sometimes when I used to do this. So this I used to make sessions where they get to interact with the CEO himself. I came up with chai with CEO, and then I made it like, okay, coffee with CEO, that kind of, activity where they get to sit and interact with the CEO and get to know with what passion did he start this business, what was his aim, how he thinks about the employees, how he feels for the families of the employees. And after a session or two, the employees start loving the person and his goals and his ideologies, and people are okay, probably extending an hour, doing a little bit more, guiding someone else because their goal gets aligned. They both have a common goal after having a conversation. Otherwise, you find the CEO or the management people sitting inside their cabins. They hardly come out. They're very stiff upper lip, no smiling, no talking. There's a lot of issues that comes up. So only people like us who are trained in psychology will have an idea that they need to bond, they need to talk. Otherwise, it's just like, we go sit. If you look at the HR team in general, even I am a part of an HR team. I'm also an HR professional because when I started my career, I had the only option of getting into the HR umbrella and saying, yeah, I can also do this. So when we work as an HR, okay, without bringing in the psychological aspect, yeah, he's the CEO. He's supposed to be sitting in his cabin. He will come at 9. He will go at 5. It doesn't bother me. But when you start thinking about your real role and how you can make a difference, how the importance of communication, how much difference it can bring in if they communicate. So these are things that people who learn behavioral science will think more, not others. So that's how we come up with the ideas. Employee engagement, developing employee engagement programs. Most of them say employee engagement for cake cutting functions that they have once a year, once a month, or once a month they have that cake cutting, and they say, yeah, we have great, wonderful employee engagement. That's not what you need to do. You need to understand what motivates them and what kind of activities they would like to participate. What is that they like? Once in a while, taking them out for a lunch, or probably when you join the organization, how welcoming you are. You take them out for a lunch with the lead, you get to sit and talk to them. Or otherwise, simple games, like I am not from Chennai. So during this pandemic, there were quite a few organizations who contacted me as a consultant to do employee engagement programs. When I go and I talk, they will never connect to me. Definitely, they know I am not from Chennai. The way she's talking or the way she's even asking questions does not feel like she's from Chennai. They will know it even with my pronunciation style. They will know definitely I'm not from here. I should be from Karnataka or some area like that. They would definitely know that. So what I did was I came up with the quiz program or anything that is related to films. Understanding the pulse of Chennaiites. It is cinema. That's everything for them. No matter he is earning in lakhs or whatever. So I started coming up with activities which involved more of their culture, which is more of temples and more of cinema, architecture, using emojis and smileys. Guess the actor, guess the place. So that was more, they really love such kind of activities because sitting at home, you don't have, anyone to talk to. Yeah, the tea break is not there. They are not meeting their friends. Their occasional gossips is not happening. They feel really, really bad. They are really sad. At this point of time, they're sad. They really want to get back to work. So this way, coming up with innovative techniques to engage employees and make them motivated to work and give their best. That is also your role. Just cake cutting and having random quiz, just very very bland, will not really be an employee engagement program. And why am I thinking like this? I'm thinking like this because I know about human behavior. I know how people like it. What makes a person happy? I'm looking at that. If I would have done any other course, I wouldn't have thought in that way. I would have just thought, okay, employee engagement is cake cutting. Okay, finish. We are doing this. Our job is done. But we go that extra mile in understanding their emotions and their feelings and try to bridge that and come up with ideas and all that. So ma'am, it would be our pleasure if you can give one advice or suggestion as organizational psychologist, which will be. There's a question from Prashant Shah. It would be our pleasure if you give one advice or suggestion as an organizational psychologist, which will be fruitful. Uh, what advice do I give? Apply what you learn. See, what we forget is we do not apply. There are certain chapters which we would have skipped because it was too lengthy to write an answer. Go back to that chapter and apply it now. That made magic for me, really, to be honest. I was a problematic student. I always had a lot of problems with everyone around. But then I'll tell you, now I think a lot of my teachers are proud of me because I am applying whatever they have taught, and they are really surprised that I really knew such kind of chapters existed. So what you need to do is, even if you are a little playful in your classes or with your education, apply it more than the marks. I would say, you should know what to apply where. Application of what you learn is what is very important. And as an organizational psychologist, I think you should know to use your brain at the right place and your mind, your heart at the right place. Do not mix up your emotions and practicality together. Because sometimes, when there are certain crucial issues, you should be very practical in giving them guidance. And sometimes you have to be empathetic and feel for them and then talk. So you should know the right usage. Like eye hand coordination, you should know when to be emotional, when to be practical. That is what is very important in an organization setup. Yeah. So one more thing that I want to say is about developing training modules. So how do you identify what is that they need? So when you interact with the leads, sometimes what happens is that they are situational leaders because they were hired first. They were the first 4 people who started coding in one room in the apartment, and then it has become 100 people. So they are obviously leaders, but the leadership qualities in them have still not evolved, or they have not even looked towards it. They have not identified what are their skills. So who can do it better than us? We can definitely identify what are the areas that they're really good at, which needs to be polished. Develop a module for them. We have so many theories, so many personality theories that we learn. Apply that and come up with innovative modules. You can create so many modules related to leadership based on the theories that we have. So you come up with innovative ideas for training the leaders, the managers. So that's another role that you will be in charge of. If you get into the right organization, you will be getting an opportunity to develop these modules. I started developing modules pretty early because I was already a trainer even before I started my bachelor's degree. So I used to do randomly without having an idea, but later on I realized, okay, psychology will help me, and I had an inclination towards psychology. That's why I went for my psychology in my bachelor's and then master's. So those things which which without our knowledge we use and apply, most of the time it goes back into psychology itself. That's what I learned, because earlier whatever I used was connected to the theories. But once I studied it, I got clarity, like, yes, this is what it is, and then you need to apply. Okay, so uh, Lakshayani Priya, ma'am, please tell something that you think that would have been good if you know that before starting your actual career, especially for those who would like to complete your. Mm, okay. Uh, Especially for those who would like to complete your. I didn't get your question, Ma. Lakshayani Priya. Please tell something that you think that would have been good if you knew that you are. Can you just simplify the question for me, Deepak, if you can understand, because I find it too many words. So,
Actually, I too can't understand. I think she's asking like some advice or something you learned after you became an organizational psychologist, something like that.
okay, some lesson that you would like to give your junior. Be
Yeah.
original. Don't go after the leader. You will have more ideas, and you will. That's what I said. It's so interesting. You guys are really, really lucky that you have chosen this particular course, because we can have so many permutation combinations and come up with modules and ideas and plans. So being very creative, like the way you sketch or you draw, you can be very creative with a wonderful subject that you've chosen. So since you're saying that you want to start a business, um, I would say that, look into few chapters of customer psychology and marketing psychology, and go through the theories that is involved in it and apply them. See, while you're applying, it is not rocket science. It's very simple. Like when you say, when you talk about some Italian dish, it sounds very hi-fi, but when you go to the ingredients, it will be something that you get inside the kitchen. It's as simple as that. So when you look at it as a theory, it is very difficult. That is what you feel. But when you apply it, it's going to be very, very simple. Trust me. If someone, an average, I wasn't an average student. I was a good student, but someone who was a little lazy or a little playful is telling you this over the years. So definitely, it's definitely going to be easy and it's fun. It's real fun when you apply the theories. Okay. So I hope, Lakshayani Priya, you got the answer. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Deepak, I think we are almost close to our time. So, like,
Yeah.
if you
Like
have any questions, you can quickly ask in 2 minutes, and then probably we'll conclude.
yeah, we can like answer like two or three more questions. So if you
Yes.
have any questions, please ask now.
Oh, you're welcome, Amrita. Deepak will anyways give you my email ID or anything, whatever is fine with you. And then you have any doubts, you can always contact me.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm Sharia, so I'm currently studying in Hungary. I'm
Okay.
doing my bachelor's. So I
Okay.
have the option of doing my master's in Germany, or do you know about any kind of scholarships that Germany offers, or maybe US, which would be the better option for me?
I would still ask you to, I would still suggest Germany for you. I will have to look into it and give you the right information, because I think I looked at Germany as an option a few years before. Now I can look for it and give you the details. Still, if you're asking me between US and Germany, I would ask you to go for Germany itself more than US.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome. Okay. Anything you regret and would like to change by time travel based on your career and study, and you don't want us to repeat? Wonderful question, Lakshani. I have absolutely no regrets. I feel I should have had this applying theory tendency in the class itself with my friends, and even in simple things of life. No? I wish I had done that. Yeah, all of us need to have that playful time and fun and all that. Even in fun, I could have applied it. it would have been even more challenging to apply the theories when you have fun with your friends, which I have not done. Yes, I did have few of the friends who tried to guess the personality of a tree because they were learning personality theories. So there were few of them who were really intellectual to even think in that way. So I regret not, applying it for playful things while I was a student. That's the only thing. But in my career, I am extremely happy with whatever I've done till date. What I'm doing, yeah, everything is good, great. Oh, sure, definitely, Lakshani. You just follow your heart. You are going to say the same answer if you follow your heart and you do justice to whatever you learn. You're not lazy. You are applying what you've learned. You are going to talk like me. If you don't apply and if you want things to fall into place, no, not happening. It won't happen that way. Okay, so Kashish, okay. Thank you so much, Kashish. Yeah, I think we are almost done, Deepak. So
Yeah. So just a moment, ma'am. Yeah, hope my screen is visible.
okay.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Like, this is our certificate. We are grateful to have you in this, giving this as this session, ma'am. So, thank you so much. It was a extremely informative session, ma'am. You gave like whatever I asked for, you gave it. You gave everything. You gave about organization psychology. You cleared all our doubts. You spoke about how. You worked as an organizational psychologist, and actually, I have a question, ma'am. Even like psychology is very selective people psychology. What made you select organizational psychology, ma'am?
Uh, See, what
Like, was there in?
I had the
Uh,
same feeling of the father figure of organizational psychology. What I felt was, why are we not looking at the organization setup? Why are we not applying such beautiful theories in an organization setup? Always, psychology boils down to mental health of just normal people, or probably with the mental health alone. We reduce it to just mental health, which is also a part of it, but it's not just about mental health. And so many taboos are being, associated with mental health, which has to be removed. I am doing my bit for that as well. But this was something which was not looked into in detail. As in, there's so people say there's so much of attrition happening. I'm not happy with my job. So I was just thinking, why is he not happy with the job, and why are they leaving the job? Why can't we apply this in an organization setup? So that's where I got the interest. More of these why questions in the organization setup is what made me, go in depth and see why not organization psychology. And most of the times, when they take up psychology, I think I just had five or six of them who opted for industrial organization psychology, and others were going into general psychology, clinical psychology. They had maybe they had a good clarity on what they wanted to do. I was more inquisitive, and it was not that clear until I finished. I just had a doubt: what would happen if I take up organization psychology? Yeah, turned out to be good. I'm happy for that.
yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for
Yeah.
the session. And
Yeah.
yeah, I have shared the feedback form. Like, guys, please fill in the form. We will give you like 2-3 minutes for filling the form. And then that's it. We can end the session here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much. And, it was
yeah.
wonderful talking. I wish it was a little more interactive. Anyways, thank you so much for the questions. I wish all of you all a great future. I hope you make right choices and be happy always. Okay. Thank you,
Yes,
Deepak.
sure,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Deepak, for connecting me. See, I generally talk to
Hmm.
students, um, and I was happy when you approached. I was really happy because it's always nice to talk to students and give them a piece of knowledge that we have acquired. So thank you for this opportunity again, and
Yes, ma'am.
wishing all of you a wonderful future and a great career. Even to you, Deepak, wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, thank you.